A very warm welcome to us at TSB, where we're celebrating Lesbian Visibility Week. It's been going since 2018, and we're really proud that at TSB we're part of this. And this is where we show solidarity, if I'll get my words out, solidarity with the LGBTQI women and non-binary people. And we know that lesbian population more broadly feel underrepresented and a bit misunderstood, so I think this is a really important one for us. So today I'm joined by Lesley and SJ. Really delighted and excited to be having this conversation. I'm Liz Ashford, I'm the HR Director at TSB, and we just thought we'd do a really quick introduction. So I've been at TSB for 2 years now, and I'm a middle-aged mother of 3, and I'm an ally, and I'm pleased to be joined by Lesley and SJ. If you don't mind just saying a few words about your backgrounds and what you do. Is that all right?
Sure, yeah. Do you want me to go first, Lesley?
Perfect.
Yeah, SJ.
Sure, yeah. So my name's Sarah Jane Tracy, my pronouns are she, her, and I work as an Assistant Operations Manager within Business Banking for TSB. I've been with TSB for 3 years, and yeah, I'm just really passionate about diversity inclusion overall, but more specifically sort of LGBT network as well.
Fantastic.
Hi, my name's Lesley Scanlon. I'm a bank manager for TSB in the West End of Glasgow. I've been with TSB for 22 years, and same as SJ, part of the LGBTI network, really passionate and lesbian lead for TSB.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. So if you're all right, we're going to dig in with some of our questions. Yep. So we know that everybody's got a story about coming out, and we know that sometimes they're sort of more positives and sometimes less so, and there's also a difference between where you come out, whether it's with your friends and family or whether it's at work. And I'd just love to ask you a little bit about how it felt to come out at TSB, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should we start with Lesley this time?
Yeah.
Switch it up a bit.
I've got 2 coming out stories, I suppose, for TSB. One, when I first started, wasn't a great experience, but that was 20 years ago, so we won't delve into that too much. And then about 12 years ago, I couldn't live like that anymore, not at work. I couldn't have 2 separate lives. And then was a great experience. It was a drunk experience, shall we say? I think then all the inhibitions were down, and it was just a completely different experience. And ever since then, it's been night and day. I can't describe the difference other than night and day. And as the years and time have moved on, and we become more aware and more open to knowing our colleagues and allowing our colleagues to be truly who they are, then I think hopefully it's easier for people that are joining TSB now to just be themselves, and if
absolutely,
then it's a great environment to do that.
Great. And SJ?
Yeah, mine was quite interesting actually, and it's a good point I'm going to make. I was kind of quite nervous about coming into an organisation, and because you have to think about it, you know, people talk about their relationships quite openly and in conversations at lunch, for example, and I wasn't quite sure I was ready to say anything, but I wanted to, because I wanted to get involved in diversity inclusion. I wanted to be visible and support other people that were in our community. And I just remember I was starting to do some sort of presentations on diversity inclusion, and the sort of pride piece came up for me, and I thought, I need to be authentic with this. I need to tell people before I present this, or else it's just not going to feel right. And I'd sort of made a plan in my head that I was going to tell people in my team the week before it. And I remember saying to one of my colleagues, who I was really nervous about, and we're actually really close friends now and still colleagues, you know, I sort of said, oh yeah, me and my partner, you know, as in her. And she was just eating an apple and looking at her phone and didn't do anything, didn't say anything. And I thought, I've just came out and, you know, you've not budged. But I went, you know, I've got a girlfriend. And she sort of took her distraction away and looked at me and was like, yeah, so? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, right, this isn't actually as bad as I'm thinking. And yeah, we still laugh about that today, but that was probably one of the nicer examples. It's certainly not the same for everybody, and I think a massive barrier is confidence. I think, like Lesley says, you need to know the people around you, and it's about being comfortable to in that environment to come out and be yourself, which is a shame because it shouldn't be like that, but it happens. And yeah, I guess it stopped for me now. I don't feel like I ever have to come out at work anymore. I think I'm quite confident and I don't think about it, but thinking back, I really did think about it a lot. And when I moved area, I had to do it again, but my team were amazing again there, and they asked me loads of questions which I didn't expect, and just really wanted to educate themselves. So
Good
yeah,
questions.
I feel like questions sort of just like, when did you know, and just really interesting questions that were just basically for them to understand and learn and just open up their viewpoints, I guess, going forward if they were to have a gay friend or anything like that. I think it just sort of helped the education piece, but it's all been really good and really positive, and I feel very fortunate for that and very supported at TSB from that point of view.
I'm delighted to hear that. That sounds really positive experience. Wonderful. I'm pleased. And just Lesley, if we could just come back to you a little bit. So you talked about kind of that feeling of it being night and day the second time round after you'd come out, and just love to understand a little bit more about how that felt, before and then after.
The before was very, very careful. Didn't create any sort of really close relationships with people in work.
Right.
Very much I came to work and I went home again, and it was two separate lives. That's the only way I can describe it. When I came out in work, I actually don't remember. So, but everybody after that, the next day, the Monday morning, was like, "You do know you told us that," and I was like, "Oh, all right, okay." And is everything okay? So I was a bit nervous there. It was a kind of heart-stopping moment. Where you're like, "What's this going to go like?" And everybody went, "Why did you not tell us?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so having to then explain why I didn't tell, they were kind of like, "Ah, right, okay." And then the same as SJ, questions, but it was more around what they could have done differently to make me feel comfortable.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a great piece, but that kind of way I was looking at it going and thinking back, and like, it was me that was uncomfortable. It was me that wasn't ready to be that person in work as well. I'd closed that side of myself off. And SJ's right. Well, I'm right, because I work in branch, I probably move teams more or get people into my team more than outside in departments and centres. So constantly do come out to people, and now I don't even think about it. Now I'm just like that. Yep. My girlfriend, I don't even say partner really anymore. And it's great now because people come to me and ask, and people come to me and say, how can I get involved in diversity and inclusion? So yeah, that's night and day.
Fantastic, thank you. SJ, how about you?
Yeah, I'm very similar, Lesley, to be honest. And I think what really has helped is people being so supportive. And again, it's exactly what you said. You feel, I guess it's a sense of being confident in yourself first, because it's not just work you're necessarily coming out to. It can then, once you feel relaxed in workspace, you've then got to think about the rest of your life outside of work. And yeah, it can kind of grow arms and legs. But now it's just not, I feel really accepted. I'm really comfortable in myself and confident. And yeah, but that's taken a lot. That's been a lot of experience and a lot of learning, I suppose, to get to that point.
And if you had a top tip to somebody perhaps who's watching this who hasn't come out yet to their colleagues, what would be the one sort of golden nugget of advice that you'd give them?
Right, Lesley. Need to pull this out the bag.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think I kind of tried to look for somebody that was maybe more open than me at work, but there wasn't really straight away immediately, because obviously you don't know everybody straight away.
Yeah.
But certainly if there's someone that you trust, talking to somebody, just even if they're an ally that you trust, can help your confidence, because you feel you've got at least a little bit of support. That would be a personal point of view anyway. You've got somebody to lean on if you are feeling a little bit nervous about coming out, or something's coming up and you're nervous because you're probably going to have to maybe come out, or whatever it may be. I think having that sort of relationship with somebody is really helpful.
So find your ally.
Yes.
Great. Anything to add to that, Lesley, or would it be the same?
It would be the same for me. Definitely find your ally, but be comfortable in your skin, because that's the most important. It's being comfortable with yourself and knowing yourself, and knowing that, 99 times out of 100, we build that up to be bigger in our heads than it actually is for other people.
Yeah.
About the impact that news is going to have on the person that you're telling. And, I would like to think and hope that the reaction is the same as SJ had, is like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's great guidance. I'm sure that'll be really useful, to just be comfortable in your own skin about it, kind of before you share. Fantastic, thank you. So gosh, we know that role modeling in the inclusion space is just so important, isn't it, about having people that you can look to, who you recognize as being like you, that are really helpful on your journey. I just love you to talk a little bit about why it's important to you to be a visible lesbian in the workplace. Yep. Shall we start with SJ first?
Sure. Yeah, I think it kind of links back to just, I wish I'd kind of had that, not support, just had that representation to think, right, somebody here is already out as a lesbian. It's okay. It's safe to do that. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but you genuinely are putting these thoughts of your mind as you're processing what you're going to try and do. So I do it purely because I want other people who are either starting at TSB or are in TSB and just kind of not quite there yet to come out. It's absolutely fine. We've got a huge diversity inclusion committee across the board, not just LGBT, like across the board, that support us and do a lot. We all do a lot to make sure it's an inclusive environment. And even yourself, Liz, and the executives, you're all really on board and really supportive of the work that the Diversity Inclusion Committee do. So yeah, I think it's just more for other people just to have that support if they need it, and yeah, just to keep pushing that awareness and education as well. I think that's really important to do.
Brilliant, fantastic. Anything you'd add to that, Lesley?
Very much along the same lines as SJ. I think that the most important thing for me in being that person is that I'm a believer in you can't be what you can't see. So if you can't see that ability, then you can't be that person. So yeah, I think if one person can do it, then someone else joins in, and then just someone else joins in, and someone else joins in. And before you know it, there is a community.
Yeah.
Within your workplace, there is that feeling of community, whether it's just in the LGBT space or across all our affinity groups. And I would definitely echo what SJ says. It's important that comes from yourself, Liz, and the exec team, which it does, to really support us in spreading that message and making sure that visibility is there for anyone. And how they
I like that. Yeah. You can't be what you can't see. That's really nice way of putting it. And I think from my perspective, there's masses of research around the energy that we put in sort of pretending to be something that we're not, is really wasted energy, isn't it? And the whole idea that if you can sort of just be authentic, be yourself, be your true self, bring your best self to work, then from an organisation perspective, actually that energy on that masking is, you can put somewhere else more productive, and that just means we've got better, happier colleagues around it. So it's from a certainly from TSB's perspective, that's a really important one to be yourself. Fantastic, thank you. And this is a really important question for me as the HR director. But just what are you looking for from TSB to support it, diverse colleagues and really supporting that environment where we can genuinely just bring our whole selves to work and not worry about how things looked or how they're judged or any negative feedback that you're going to get? What can we do at TSB to support you?
Yeah, you go for it if you want.
Yeah, for me, from a HR point of view, we have a support network, and do we get negative comments from colleagues? No. So giving the empowerment for colleagues to turn around and say, that's not acceptable, that's not acceptable, is a personal feeling to that individual. But if they feel that that's an unacceptable comment or there is harassment, then we have the policies there. And I know we do have those policies there to allow us to openly report that and be confident that that is listened to and actioned upon, and the education is there. And in the LGBTI network, we do look at the education piece a lot to educate people. We've got our coming out guide, we've got our trans guide. So we put a lot of work in to support and educate. And I think from a HR perspective is really amplifying that information and making sure that our policies are always got a diversity and inclusion lens to them.
Okay. So there's that intolerance for anything that's inappropriate or makes people feel uncomfortable, and that genuinely shows up. I mean, it's meant to, so that's good if you're saying it's there. That visibility of support and intolerance for anything that feels uncomfortable or inappropriate. Okay.
Yeah, I'd agree actually, Lesley. I think everything you said there's what was on my mind, and also in the last year we've produced the trans guide and the coming out guide as well for our colleagues, which are for allies and for anyone that is LGBT plus, and I think that's been really useful. And I think the support really is there, and I think we are all under the same sort of message and drive to make sure that we're creating a really inclusive workforce. So yeah, I would agree with that.
That's great. That's good to hear. I guess if I think about one of the things that I love about our inclusion networks is the extent to which intersectionality shows up all the time. So being a woman and being part of the LGBTQ plus network, what I really like is the extent to which colleagues lean in and look at intersectionality. Next month we've got Families Month, that we're celebrating families, whatever form that takes for people, and this month we're kind of in the ability, we're celebrating ability and talking about different challenges that people face. And I love the way that the different networks lean in and really give a very vocal support to all aspects of inclusion. Does that help, being part of a kind of much broader group of inclusion networks rather than just one? Is that a useful piece?
Definitely. Yeah, I would say because it makes more sense if we're siloed, if we're all in our different pockets, it's fine. But not everybody, I don't even think anybody actually just fits into one category. So it just makes sense to it's not even actually inclusive, is it, if you think about it, if you're just in one pigeonhole. But certainly working with the other networks and as one and trying to sort of support each other and build each other up, I think that's really pushed the engagement, pushed the learning further than what we could have done if it's like, but I've noticed it's a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. We can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
We've all got different experience, regardless of which affinity group or network that you feel that you more identify with, or the space that you're more passionate about and working in. We can absolutely all learn from each other, and I can learn from anyone. We can all learn bottom up, top down, doesn't matter. And that I do think that our pulling all together and the intersectionality really is driving it completely forward. And if there is that negative aspect of someone thinking, I can get away with doing this or that whole wall of community is there.
Mm-hmm.
That person is the exception rather than the rule now. And I think that's the most positive thing I've seen probably over the last 2-3 years for network.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear, Lesley. So how important is the LGBTQI plus groups in the workplace, do you think, more generally? What importance do you weight on them? Let's start with, I like this, it's like question time. I can choose where to go first.
I don't know when to speak, yeah.
Let's start with SJ.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely key. I know from when I started in TSB, one of my first questions was, at the end of the first day of my training, how do I get involved? And I was given the names for the chairs for LGBT specifically, and the community there, they were just really friendly, really great. Also, they're all over the UK and all over in different areas of the business. So not only are you getting to know people from an LGBT perspective, but also you're getting to get some other experience as well. And I think it's really nice, like Lesley says, the sort of community feel that we get off that as well. It's just that support, and there's allies within that as well. So yeah, I think they're really, really important. And certainly in the last 3 years that I've been at TSB, the change that's happened and the sort of engagement and the education that's been shared, a lot of it, a huge lot of it, has been down to our LGBT network and the chairs driving that and pushing that forward to make sure it's always on the agenda. So yeah, I would say that they're absolutely key, and they've certainly helped and supported me, and I've loved every minute of being part of it. So it brings a lot of joy to my job as well.
That's fantastic to hear, SJ. Fantastic. How about you, Lesley? How important is it to you?
They're massively important for me. I think for myself, I came to it from a slightly different angle from SJ. I was more involved with the Inclusion Network in Scotland, and then it was quite segregated. You know, you did that, and it is always a side of your day job. So you have to be passionate about it. You have to be, this is what I'm going to do on top of what we get paid to do. And then going to Pride, I think SJ does a great job leading our Pride team, but we did Edinburgh Pride before we had a Pride team, just to see what happened. And that then leads into saying, well, that was a great event, we can do more. And I think that if having the networks and the affinity groups really does help drive forward our engagement across absolutely everything that we do. And it's not just important for us as colleagues, but also our customers. We have to reflect our customers.
Absolutely.
And working in branch, I probably see that more than SJ, just as an example. And educating our colleagues that are dealing face-to-face with customers and how we do the best for them, and being as diverse as the world out there is massively important, and to show that. And if you do work for somewhere that there isn't a network that supports and represents you and how you feel, start one up.
Fantastic. That's great advice. Great advice. Brilliant. So just in before we did this interview, I just read up a little bit, and one of the bits of research that I heard were that the lesbian women twice as unlikely to be out in the workplace than gay men. And I was just really curious to understand your perspective on why you think that is. Can I start with Lesley? What do you think?
Thanks, Liz.
Sorry.
I don't know is the honest answer. I think that if you think of the sort of a gay man community, there's been more representation and fight for equality from such a long period back, and there's always been lesbian women involved in that. But if you go back to Pride marches when they first started, it was more gay men that led that fight. And I don't know if it's just a matter of time and confidence, and that you're sort of pioneer people now standing up, and creating that lesbian focused community. Which I guess,
I'm sure you're right, and it probably points to the importance of being out and being visible in the workplace, which is why this week of visibility is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I threw that one in. I was really curious.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, and I think that the way to answer that is to ask people who are just maybe coming out in the workplace and saying what was stopping that, or people coming out later in life, what what stopped you doing that, so that you can then understand what needs to change in the environment to make that happen.
Yes, yeah. Be good to understand, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, so just finally then, so at the beginning of this conversation, I set myself out as an ally, and I guess this is an opportunity for you to just, I'm really keen for you to set out what do you look for from allies, your colleagues, the leadership team. What's important for allies to bring to the party?
I think for allies, being there and being not only like physically there at sort of events, say, but also just sort of speaking up, that speaks volumes in itself. It takes confidence to even do that, to even be an ally sometimes, because you really do need to educate yourself in a way, because you're not, you may not identify as gay, lesbian, bi, whatever it is, but you still need to sort of understand an element of it if you're going to sort of support it. So whenever I do hear or see anyone speaking up, I feel really like there's a little proud feeling inside of me. But that's the support off the back of that is huge. I don't even know if you put that into words actually, but yeah, just sort of being present, I guess, and standing up,
Cool.
speaking up. Yeah, speaking up.
Great, fantastic, SJ. That's wonderful. Thank you. How about you, Lesley? What do you want?
I would
your Christmas list.
Yeah, I would add my Christmas list. I would absolutely double up on what SJ is saying, and I think that for me, an ally really needs to do that when they're not in the company of member of the LGBT group, the lesbian, gay. When they're in a company of people that are maybe just having a bit of banter or a bit of joke, and thinking it's okay to say that because there's no one there that identifies that way, or that you know of identifies that way.
Right, okay.
What's happening there, but actually to stand up and say, not allowed, not acceptable. Yeah. I think that is even more powerful.
Courage, courage to stand up, even when you're not being watched, or when you think that actually it's perhaps going to be a less popular view. That's great. It's great. That's a great ask actually for all of us to hold ourselves to account on. So brilliant. Listen, thank you so much for all of your candor and being so open, and I apologise for slipping in a few extra questions.
Okay.
But it's been great. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.